sideline for the 2017 season. The 34 voting regents include two of the country's highest paid CEOs, several of Texas's richest oil and gas businessmen, some of the state's top attorneys, and a handful of Baptist pastors and former Bears football player. So Briles was suspended in May with the intent to terminate him, and this was in the wake of reports with multiple sexual assaults and some involving football players. Skip, what's your reaction to this?
Molly, Stephen A. Obviously, from the outside looking in at this, it is appalling to the point of being disturbing that a number of Baylor University power brokers, upstanding citizens, could be so shockingly insensitive to what a number of Baylor football players did to a number of women in a culture that was allowed to run amok, a culture of see no evil under Art Briles. But for me, Stephen A. Smith, I covered Baylor for a long time because, as you know, in my days in Dallas, I covered the Southwest Conference, the old Southwest Conference. This doesn't surprise me a bit. In fact, it's predictable because I knew so many of this type of deep-pocketed individual, alum, power broker, who valued bragging rights even above ethics and principles. Because, Stephen A., just so you get this, the old Southwest Conference and the bragging rights still operate there. Most of these people are based in Dallas or Houston. So you have all these schools in the same state. It used to just be Arkansas plus the Texas schools. And every Monday morning, a lot of these power brokers get on the office tower elevator with a number of other power brokers from the University of Texas, maybe from Arkansas and A&M and Texas Tech, maybe a little Oklahoma thrown in there, and they want to throw their chest out and say, we beat you. And they are willing to go to any lengths to do that, which is why I covered the scandal at a little Methodist school in Dallas called SMU, the death penalty scandal back in the 80s, because those power brokers said, hey, let's just buy a championship. And they almost did. They almost bought a national championship. They became within a tie game of a national championship, 1982. And it's why little Baptist school down in Waco, Texas, has had scandal after scandal after scandal. Because, who cares about religious principles? Let's just do whatever it takes to win some football games or some basketball games. And Art Briles, they love because he brought them bragging rights at whatever cost. And as you know, Stephen A., because we've had him on the show a couple of times, Art's a good old boy. A lot of fun to be around. A lot of fun to sit across from at dinner. He'll tell you the tales, tell you what's really going on, tell you what you got to do. You got to maybe bend this rule or whatever to get it done. He's going to get it done. He did get it done at this cost, at this price. So it doesn't surprise me a bit. I have no respect for these people because I don't see how you value that your school beat another school, those bragging rights above that. You're willing to live with this taint, this stink that is now Baylor football, and let this man sit out on suspension for a year and bring him back in after this. I would be so disgusted if I were a Baylor alum by this attitude that I would I'd want my credentials pulled. I wouldn't want to be a Baylor alum anymore.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because what I take from it is that if you read these stories and you hear about the news emanating out of Baylor about alumni members and what have you wanting Art Briles to come back, essentially what you're basically saying to parents out there is don't send your daughters here. Our priority is not protecting them. That's the reputation that Baylor is allowing to be disseminated to the masses. And you're asking folks to recognize that about you because you want to protect one man and put him over the well-being and the welfare of the university. Now, let's be clear. When we say protect Art Briles, let's understand that he doesn't need to be protected as if he's somebody who's a rapist or who has sexually assaulted somebody. He is not the individual that has engaged in those acts. He's a father, he's a husband, he's a grandfather, etc. But the flip side to it is that he is the man over a football program that has 2 players who were convicted of rape in a span of 19 months. He is a man that presides over a football program where there have been other allegations of sexual assault. He is the man that presides over a football program to the point where he's the one that's going to receive a call on occasion, at the very least, when there is a woman that is claiming damage has been done to her, harm has been done to her, and according to numerous reports, their phone calls didn't get returned, and there was a dismissive attitude emanating from the university, the football program, et cetera, et cetera. We've learned in the aftermath from former president, former chancellor, and now still law professor at the school, Mr. Kenneth Starr, with his hypocritical self, going after Bill Clinton years ago because of the Monica Lewinsky deal, when the acts with her is appalling, as many may deem it to be, was absolutely positively consensual, but you didn't feel the need to go after football players that were allegedly raping, or in at least 2 cases, convicted of rape. So when you look at it from that perspective, and you see the laissez-faire, relatively dismissive attitude that they have, that's bad in and of itself. That's why Briles had to go. That's why assistants may have needed to go. That's why the president and chancellor, Kenneth Starr, needed to be relieved of his duties. It's why other folks there need to go. The athletic director and others may very well need to go as well. But more importantly than anything else, please understand, when something like this happens, you're trying to change the culture. And the individuals that allow this culture to proliferate, gain traction, etc., they have to go, because you can't have them there, because they are synonymous with the scandal. Anybody remotely familiar with branding knows that. Especially in this day and age where you got everybody trying to be a brand. Why you think everybody's on Twitter all the damn time, or Facebook? So you know this, and you would still talk about bringing this man back? It's as insensitive and as egregious as it gets. But like you said, Skip, it's not surprising.
Nope.
It's just pretty sad. And the message to peel from it is that don't let your daughters go to Baylor.
Yeah. And to echo your earlier sentiments, no respect for them either. And clearly they have no respect for these victims. Thank you for your strong words, guys. As always, more First Take after the break.